When you're facing a distended large intestine caused by a parasitic isopod, you want the best treatment available. At the Mount Omen Clinic, our surgeons are leading the world in invasive surgery for one simple reason. Every one of them is a gamer. They're scientifically proven to make 32% less errors, increased hand-eye coordination, improved focus, better results.
Let's gank this thing.
The future of invasive surgery is here, and you're in good hands. Gamer hands.
I'm not gaming for me. I'm gaming for you.
Cognitive control is an important aspect to our everyday life. We use it in everything from cooking to driving. It helps us react to our environment, often resulting in life-saving split-second decisions. Debilitating neurological diseases and mental disorders invoke a need for some sort of cognitive restorative therapy. Studies over the last few decades have found that therapy may lie in the unlikeliest of places, video games, in specific, action games. Previous studies have associated video games with enhanced visual and auditory perception, temporal processing, and sensory motor learning. Stop-signal reaction time experiments have shown overwhelming support for video games' ability to increase reaction times and switch between tasks. Yet these same studies also show no difference between video game and non-video game players in their ability to inhibit responses once initiated. This latter finding supports debates whether video games enhance all cognitive control, but also inhibit claims that video games increase impulsive behavior. This study seeks to expand on previous data with the use of contemporary first-person shooters. As it's been suggested, they require the most cognitive flexibility. A unique addition to the study to previous stop-signal experiments is a measurement of action cascading, which is the ability to prioritize, process, and respond to multi-component information. They did this with the use of a stop-change experiment that will be discussed later in methods. Experimenters predicted to repeat previous findings where action times of gamers will be faster, yet inhibiting responses will be comparable to non-video game players. 90 participants of previous studies were sent surveys of random questions. The randomness of questions was not to expose the point of the survey. Within it were a few questions about video games, to find out who were hardcore gamers and who were not. 36 participants were chosen, 18 gamers and 18 non-gamers, which comprised of 28 men and 8 women. Participants were also given a fluence intelligence test, as well as a 20-minute practice test before the actual experiment. The actual experiment was a 10-minute stop-change paradigm test, the same one that they had just practiced for 20 minutes. Using this test's visuals, a standard stop-go test will consist of 2 circles stacked vertically with a line in between. When one lights up fully white, the participant would press the 1 key on a keyboard for above the line and 2 for below. This tests the participant's reaction time. Randomly, a red outline will appear around the circles within fractions of a second before the participant can press their response. This is a cue to cancel their response and not press anything. This measures the participant's ability to inhibit a response once initiated. This experiment takes the standard test further by also measuring action cascading. This is a person's ability to prioritize and process new and dynamic information. Instead of 2 circles, this test has 4. Instead of 1 line, this test has 3. The participant also wears headphones, where they can now hear 3 distinctive tones: low, medium, and high. These tones indicate which line the participant must use in determining whether the circle is above or below the line. The participant must also switch to their left hand to enter the response if they hear a tone. For example, if the second from the top circle were highlighted, the circle would be above the middle line and the participant would press 1 with their right hand to indicate above. But if the task highlighted the same circle next, but a stop signal was given and the highest tone heard, the participant would now have to switch to their left hand and press 2, indicating the circle is below the highest line. It sounds complicated, and if you need to, you can pause the video and read the explanation given by the study. But simply put, think of it as Simon Says on steroids. A chi-square test was used to measure gender distribution of video game versus non-video game players and independent t-tests were used to compare other independent variables such as age, fluid intelligence, and video game hours played. ANOVA tests were used to measure the experiment results with a standard significance level of 0.05. No significant group differences were found for all other noted independent variables: gender, age, and fluid intelligence. The only group that showed significant differences in results were video game versus non-video game players. Types of video game played were also noted by the surveys the participants filled out. Action video game players showed the highest significance level at 0.001, though barely. Strategic video game players also hit this significance level at 0.05. In every measurement except one, gamers showed faster reaction times than non-gamers. The one measurement that did not show faster reaction times was in alignment with previous study findings. Gamers versus non-gamers did not show significant results when comparing inhibiting response times. So though gamers were generally about 20% faster across the board, when it came to responding to a stop signal, they performed the same as non-gamers. So this experiment rejects the null and supports the alternative hypothesis that playing video games, especially action games, is positively correlated to faster reaction times. But it also does not reject the null that video games affect inhibitory responses, which the experimenters expected due to previous findings. This experiment was unique because though it could not suggest video games increase inhibitory responsibility, it does suggest video games increase the ability to switch tasks and process new and multidimensional information. These findings seem conflicting since the ability to change responses should also reflect in the ability to stop responses. But by design of the experiment, faster change responses can be explained not by the ability to change tasks faster, but by the ability to complete them faster once changed. This study uses that finding that video game players' inhibitory response were comparable to non-video game players to make the point that video game play does not make someone more impulsive or aggressive. But the same finding also suggests that video game play does not enhance all cognitive functions. Another big point that needs to be addressed is this study only shows correlation, not necessarily causation. As often argued, performance differences could be associated with pre-existing cognitive differences that make one more likely to play video games, not that the video games themselves cause the differences. Because of this, this study suggests an experiment where all participants are non-gamers, where one group is trained by action video games and compared with a control group. This would improve the external validity of the experiment. Another point was maybe, once participants learned the study was about the effects of video games on cognitive performance, video game players were more motivated to outperform their counterparts, to add legitimacy to their group membership. But this point may be mute, as the opposite could also be true. And peer reviewers must also consider that the results are consistent with previous experiments where participants were completely blind. Still, the experimenters suggest blind follow-up studies. And probably the biggest issue with this study is the small sample size. This same issue has existed in other video game studies, while also including the issue of being mostly male, since it's harder to find women who report playing action video games. Studies have not included gender-balanced groups. Again, non-gamer, random sample groups who are trained with action video games and tested against a control group is a suggested resolution for future studies. The study also suggests further research in comparing types of video games played, even comparing different types of action video games. For example, a first-person shooter like Call of Duty versus a third-person MMORPG like World of Warcraft. Finally, the study suggests more tests using different methods to measure response times. This study is only a step in further research to see how video games can affect cognitive control. But so far, all evidence suggests that video games may be a missing link in addressing cognitive dysfunctions associated with aging or neurological deteriorating diseases. Can you imagine video game therapy as the answer to maintaining or increasing cognitive control for an elderly person with Alzheimer's? That may be the future.
Non-gamers, with their horrendous cognitive skills, have next to no chance of succeeding in life. But there is hope.
Welcome to Bright Dimensions, a top-of-the-range facility equipped with top-of-the-line gaming equipment where ineffective non-gamers, like you, can, with the right guidance and rehabilitation, actually become effective. Both hands. I would know I was also a patient here, and if I can do it, you can too. At Bright Dimensions, our professional staff will create a personalized plan so you can overcome your virtual fears. So soon, you'll be ready to get back out into the world and start contributing.
Put me on the leaderboard of life.
So hurry and book your place today. It's not too late for you to become peak humanity.